Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Saints Row the Third, the full package, on Nintendo Switch. To my knowledge, this is the first time Saints Row the Third has been available natively on this generation of consoles. It's available via PlayStation Now and Xbox One backwards compatibility, but it hasn't received a true port until today. This release purportedly includes 3 mission packs and more than 30 DLC items, but unfortunately, it also includes performance issues that really distract from this otherwise plump package. Everything seems just as one would expect when returning to Saints Row the Third. All of the menus and UI seems to be lifted directly from the original. For better or worse, it's Saints Row the Third, including everything that means. With regards to loading times, they don't seem too onerous, but I did occasionally have a really long load during handheld play, and even an instance where the loading screen never ended and I had to actually quit the app via the home screen. Before we discuss the metrics regarding performance, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that there is a day one patch on the way for Saints Row, with performance improvements and other fixes promised. So what you're seeing here is not necessarily how the final game will end up playing. However, this game has been officially released, and you can go and buy it and play it right now, and this is what you're getting at the moment. I'll release a new video when the day one patch is available, but I would be surprised if there were any significant changes. On paper, Saints Row's resolution sounds good, a native 1080p when docked and a native 720p when portable. This means that generally speaking the image looks quite crisp, I'd even say maybe a bit too sharp. If there is any anti-aliasing, it seems to be quite minimal. Even worse, in scenes with heavy alpha, a weird artifact is present on the edges of characters, like the game has suddenly started rendering at 1/4 of the resolution. These big, blocky outlines likely arise from the use of a downsampled depth buffer when compositing particle effects into the scene. This means that the calculation which determines whether the character is closer to the camera than the flames or vice versa is running with the low resolution buffer, producing these jagged edges. This is probably a performance optimization, but it's quite distracting, and it's noticeable in many scenes. So really the main issue with the image quality is just whatever this artifact is. Performance is also a mixed bag. Saints Row seems to run with a completely unlocked framerate on Switch, but it has trouble maintaining a solid 30 FPS, let alone anything above that. What this means is that the act of playing Saints Row is quite difficult. At any given moment the framerate can be cut in half or more, and the game doesn't feel particularly responsive even when it is hitting 30 FPS. This makes aiming a real chore. The acceleration curve on the right stick feels really off, or maybe even non-existent, and the constantly fluctuating frame rate means that precise adjustments are pretty much out of the picture. Take this scenario where the character is skydiving, for example. The frame rate is, frankly, awful, with regular dips below 20 and even into the low teens at points. While at first this seems like a worst case scenario, and it really is a worst case, going as low as 13 FPS, this is borderline unplayable territory, and it's not even unique. If we take a look at this other action set piece from the opening heist sequence, the framerate can again be observed dropping into the low teens. This is true in both docked and portable play. Unfortunately, I have no way of capturing portable footage, but it felt much the same to me. It's incredibly difficult to make any kind of precise adjustments, and while it may seem unnecessary in a sequence like this, it doesn't feel good to play. What should be a high-octane power fantasy moment is brought to its knees thanks to performance. This isn't true in all sequences. This indoor fight plays out at an average of 34 FPS, which sounds better for playability on paper, but in reality still suffers from a wildly uneven frame rate, messing with player input. And when you're just driving around the city, the game actually seems to average around 30 FPS, but it never feels smooth because there's no consistency. The frame rate is always either hovering above or below 30 FPS. Cutscenes don't fare much better, but thankfully they don't require any player interaction. In general, cutscenes average between 26 and 28 frames per second, but whenever an explosion or other alpha effect is on screen, they can drop much more significantly. This is again true in both docked and portable mode, and this is even with the strange artifact that is noticeable whenever alpha is on screen. Overall, I'd say Saints Row the Third in its current form is quite a rough port. It's possible that the day one patch will alleviate many of these issues, but I'm skeptical to what extent some of the frame drops can be mitigated. Presumably, if the game either lowered the resolution or used some kind of dynamic resolution, that could help in some of these instances, but in its current form, the reasonably high resolution is one of the few presentational elements this port has going for it. We'll be sure to release a new, updated video whenever the day one patch is available. Until then, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. We read every single comment and try to reply to the one we can. Till next time.
Oh, hi guys.